Dennis Kucinich.
Hi, how are you? Yeah.
You kind of got shafted in the debate tonight for time. How do you think you can overcome the media not really giving you
Look what happened tonight. You have three Democrats, all of whom now say that they can imagine a war going through 2013.
It's unbelievable.
Well, not only is it unbelievable, but every college student in America and every high school student in America should be aware of that, because are they going to be able to keep a war going without a draft? I mean, we have to start looking at the implications of that. And you also have, other people who supported the war, and now they're trying to lead the way when actually, if you're saying of Iran, all options are on the table, and then the Senate passes something today, did John Edwards change his position? That's what I want to know. So I think that what I was able to, what comes out of this debate is this. I'm now the one person who not only has been consistent in challenging the war right from the beginning, who's voted 100% of the time against funding the war, who has a plan to end the war, who rejects war as an instrument of policy, who has a national security doctrine that turns on its head the neoconservative approach, which frankly all the others are endorsing one way or another. And so this election is moving in a direction that I think gradually will put me in a position of real contention, and I'm ready for that.
How quickly do you feel your plan would get troops out of Iraq?
3 months after I'm in office. I've talked to people at the UN about this, and they have told me that you need an international security and peacekeeping force, but the only way you can do that is for the United States to determine they're going to end the occupation, close the bases, bring the troops home. The premise of these candidates who say that the war will go on to 2013 is as follows. There's no end to the occupation. If you keep in mind that the occupation is fueling the insurgency, then they're really talking about the war not just continuing but escalating. This shows the same flaws in judgment that led Senator Clinton to support the war and Senator Edwards to support the war initially, and Senator Obama to support funding of the war, have put these candidates in a position where they are saying the war can continue, although they're trying to hedge as to how long. I'm saying we should end this war now. That's what the Democrats promised to do.
But isn't it the case, sir, that even if you were elected president tomorrow and you withdrew every single American soldier from Iraq, the moment Al-Qaeda set up training camps in Iraq or in Pakistan or in Iran, you would have to go straight back in?
Well, you know what? Frankly, I reject the premise of your question, because you have to keep in mind that Al-Qaeda did not have a presence in Iraq of any meaningful sort prior to the U.S. invasion, and that the U.S. invasion and an occupation has helped to fuel the insurgency. The U.S. leaves, Al-Qaeda's support drops away very quickly. The people of Iraq do not want Al-Qaeda there. They want their country back. They don't want it back in three pieces, by the way. They want it back whole.
So you're saying there's no sectarian conflict, it's all simply inspired by...
I didn't say that. Who are you with? You're interpreting what I said.
Broadcasting Corporation.
Well, you know what? I would say that there is sectarian conflict. I acknowledge that. But anyone who doesn't acknowledge that the reason why the insurgency has gained strength is because of the occupation is someone who hasn't followed it. And frankly, You're talking to the one person in the United States Congress who led the effort in challenging the war right from the start. I would urge all of you to go to an analysis that I did in October of 2002 and read that analysis, because I analyzed spot on what was going on. It isn't a matter of, who's, the most well-known right now. I'm telling you that an analysis that I did in 2002 exactly stated that there was no connection between Iraq and 9/11, Al-Qaeda's role in 9/11. Iraq, there was no proof Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, that they had the intention or capability of attacking the United States. This is a question of judgment. And what I was able to do is to demonstrate a level of judgment 5 years ago that Senator Clinton didn't demonstrate, that John Edwards didn't demonstrate, that Senator Dodd and Biden didn't demonstrate, and frankly, none of the other ones up there demonstrated. And it wasn't about giving a single speech and then going to the Senate and then voting to fund the war. It was about opposing it from the start, because let's face it, you don't have money, you don't have a war. You have money, it keeps the war going.
Congressman, Azhar poll said that 51% of Americans want Bush and Cheney probed for 9/11. What's the status of your hearings?
Well,
and the time is now.
I'm the only one who's supporting impeachment.
Yeah.
And for Cheney, and the fact of the matter is that none of the other ones will talk about this. We were misled into a war, and frankly, they want to mislead us into another war. You know, this resolution that passed tonight, and the fact that Vice President Cheney in a Newsweek magazine article was said to have encouraged Israel to attack Iran so that Iran's counter-response would invite the United States in. This is another cause for impeachment if it's true.
What is the status of your hearings? That
We are my committee's, it was a small committee, is gathering information. Do I think that the 9/11 investigation ought to be reopened? Absolutely.
Okay.
Now I have a small committee which is gathering information from various sources. We're trying to refine exactly where we're going to take it. I'd like to ask some questions. I feel that there's a lot of unanswered questions that the American people have that's making it very difficult to be able to put 9/11 behind us.
What do you
Thanks.
think of Mike Gravel's assertion that congressional Democrats should just filibuster the war funding?
Well, let me just tell you
for
something.
cloture?
Let's talk about the House of Representatives that I'm familiar with. We have an obligation in this war. We keep funding the war. The people weren't expecting it. If we would have told the people back in 2006, vote Democrat, we'll keep the war going, we would have won the Senate and the House.
Right.
So the people expect us to end the war. Now the Congress is talking about another $190 billion that will keep the war going, not only through the end of President Bush's term, but into the next president. And now you see three of the candidates here tonight are anticipating that the war is going to keep going. I'm saying that I have the plan to end the war, H.R. 1234, and I've talked to people at the UN who said that plan, which I've described some of the elements tonight, would work. But we have to end the occupation. We're not going to get help from the world community if we continue to be occupiers.
Right. You mentioned the $97 billion in the pipeline to bring the troops home now.
Well, it's not now. They've
deadline
depleted
passed
it, but
for that.
Congress today gave another $12 billion to keep the war going. I mean, it would take, actually that money would bring the troops home. It would take approximately $5 to $10 billion to bring the troops and the equipment home.
Every single one of them?
Well, just do the math, okay? Think about it. You know, what does it cost to take a first-class airfare from, that region home? You start doing the math, 5 to 10 billion would bring 160,000 troops home, bring the equipment home, and also use it to put in motion an international peacekeeping and security force that would stabilize Iraq. The money's there, but you know what isn't there? The intention to do so. So we have Democrats who want to keep the war going, and they want to attack the Republicans for having voted for the war when the Democrats have a responsibility to end it.
Why do you believe, sir, that they want to keep the war going? Is this a question that they share the same ideology whereas the president
There's no
has?
question. It's a neoconservative ideology that's shared by a number of the Democratic candidates.
So this is true of Senator Obama, Edwards,
Listen, I'm
Clinton?
saying that Senator Edwards voted for the war. Senator Edwards voted to fund the war. Senator Edwards said of Iran, all options are on the table. That's unambiguous what that means when you're talking about a nuclear option. So that's the neoconservative doctrine. The neoconservatives believe in preemption, unilateralism, first strike. And the underlying question of this debate, will the Democrats nominate someone who's a real Democrat and not someone who's a Democratic version of George Bush? And frankly, Senator Clinton, based on her voting record and what she said today, Senator Edwards, based on the statements that he made in the past, and also his position on Iran and on Russia, Senator Obama, who seems caught in this dilemma of having voted to support the war through funding, but gave a single speech about it beforehand, they're all caught up. And Senator Dodd and Senator Biden are trying to break free of that, but they voted for the war.
But both the front runners and as well as the president might say, look, we have to threaten Iran. This is how you do diplomacy. You can't take any options off the table. Of course, we want a peaceful solution.
What a way to run a world. Can you imagine that?
But
Just
isn't
go
that
around.
the only way to run the world?
Actually, it's not. And if the Danes believe that, they would be joining in and signing for an
Oh,
attack
we
on
have
Iran.
joined in long ago. We were.
You want to, are the Danes ready to attack Iran? Have you asked your leaders if they're ready to do that? And think about the consequences of the soldiers that are in Iraq, and think about how you could promote a World War III. I've been to Denmark. They're pretty solid people. They don't believe in war. And you know what? And if we get a world that starts to have a consensus about attacking Iran, we're looking at World War III. There's no basis for an attack on Iran. Iran does not have nuclear weapons. The IAEA said that Iran didn't have enough centrifuges to make nuclear power. We need to engage Iran in diplomacy so that we show them a better way than the way they're proceeding. But you don't put the nuclear gun on the table. The minute you do that, you license other people to do the same. It's the beginning of the end.